Coming up, Attachment Theory. The book is starting to get around and gaining viral again, and it's a book I've been listening to on Audible. I got thoughts about it on this full-length edition of Depraved and Debaucherous. Thanks for joining me on the program. This is King of Podcasts. I really appreciate all of you joining me. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and take a few comments, and everybody else has been dealing with doing podcasts on dating, relationships, society, culture, all those things like this program does. I'd have to go ahead and make some comments about the fact that someone that's been very outspoken in the area of masculinity, and whether you like him or not, Andrew Tate, has been banned from all social media platforms as of a couple days ago. And all I got to say about it is this. There are a number of shows out there that talk about red pill masculinity. When you talk about the Fresh and Fit podcast, you talk about Sneeko, you're talking about, Ila Halpern, Pearl Davis, all these different, these content creators that are all talking about the subject. I want to make sure to distinguish myself by saying this. If there are people that haven't go and listen to some of the content creators out there, which with probably some good intentions, talking about how men should be men, that's fine. I listen and I will listen to that content, and I'll listen to, different sides of content altogether. And there is something to be said about where if men can be chivalrous, men that can be respectful, men that are in touch with their emotions, their feelings, their confidence, their self-esteem, and their pillars of society. And they do some of the tough work that many other people can't do. There are some men that I, have a great respect for the kind of work that they do, the kind of trades, the kind of skills, the strength, the fortitude necessary to do some of the work that's out there that I would never be able to do. And you have to have respect for people that way. And for women that feel like they need to go and have a guy to provide a certain status or lifestyle. Listen, I live an hour from Miami, and in South Florida, we have a lot of women that are beautiful women that feel like there is needs to be met, and that the beauty and youth that they have entitle them to that. What needs to happen is this. Women can be young and beautiful and can ask for what they want in life, but they have to reciprocate. And for men, they have to be able to say, okay, listen, I need to have somebody from the get-go, your upbringing, whoever brought you into this world, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever kind of parental guidance you have growing up, that is what's going to formulate and lead you into who you are in life. Sometimes you don't get to have that luck. It's unfortunate. But when you don't, then there has to be a way that men and women, from what you have, you try to learn and you try to accept yourself for who you've become. Not trying to change who you are, but realize that if you are being selfish and you're not trying to be dependent on someone that you want to be with, listen, if you want to go ahead and screw around and have friends with benefits, or just be fuck boys and just kind of go out there, or women just want to go out and get what they want to get paid, hey, you have the right, and that's okay. But to me, I also feel like that's not for everybody. And there are some people that don't need to subscribe or follow that path. Because more importantly, I feel like some people that don't get the right upbringing and fall into patterns of where guys and girls can both be emotionally abused, mentally abused, manipulation, narcissism, those issues are very big. Because here's the thing too, with some of the guys that are out there, if you're smart enough to say, okay, this woman wants to just have me for my status, I can take her out to dinner, I can buy her things, you can get out of there anytime you want, and you should. And you need to have the wherewithal to realize this situation is not for me. If I want to be in, hit it and quit it, okay, then that's up to you. But that's got to be your choice. Women, when you decide to go ahead and find a guy that you want to spend time with and you want to take advantage of, with your youth and your beauty brings you the wisdom, brings you the things that you need in life. But remember, it's the youth and beauty that we all want as men naturally. Not the weaves, not the nails, not the makeup. What you look like when you come right out of bed. I mean, it's natural beauty. Because for me, it's that part. I also think just the other things that need to be, that you do because you feel like everybody else is telling you to do that. The beauty standards. The idea that everybody needs to go in and get tattoos everywhere. If there's one thing to have sentimental value and have tattoos that make sense, that, you know, you have because there's a reason, and not just as some kind of decoration on you. So that you can never have it where it's always going to be just on you. I mean, now they hear that women want to get tattoos on the jawline, under the chin. I mean, in the places where, you know, if you're going to wear a bikini, you're going to wear a nice dress or a bridesmaid outfit, and you're going to have whatever's going to be crawling out of whatever you're wearing. There was nothing wrong with the skin that you're in, but some people feel there's a difference. But there's also a reason why some people will do that, because it's a reaction to what has happened to them in life. Some people are going to do that anyway, but what if you could avoid that? What if it wasn't necessary? Those are some of the things I think about. And for the fact that we have these content creators out there in the war of, you know, battle of the sexes, it's become much more sensitive and much more triggering than it ever was before. My thing is, I think everybody should be able to go and have their say as to what they think about things. I'm not here to go ahead and defend anybody, because no one's going to defend me. Okay? No one's coming out here collaborating with me to try to put some big thing out there to, you know, try to get some clout or influence. There's an audience I have for here, and I'm content and satisfied with it. If I can grow this out organically and let the word continue to get out there, the message of going across, that let people be depraved and debaucherous. A lot of them have that, but also realize that there's a time and a place where if you want real sustaining love and compassion, understanding, and fulfillment, like there's supposed to be a fulfillment by having a significant other, by having love in your life that's supposed to complete you. And some people take that for granted. And some people don't realize they don't need to go ahead and follow what everybody else is doing, cloud chasing, just to get there. That doesn't need to happen either. But people do feel like they need to do that. It's unfortunate. And so right now my TikTok For You page is loaded with commentary on dating and relationships and all that. It's about 90% of what I watch. Sure, I'm the one that's following the algorithm, and that's what I keep looking at and following along. And there's nothing wrong with people saying, if you need to make yourself healthier and happier, that's a good thing. The way they might present it might be not your liking, but it's always about the intent of the message. It's always about the good is trying to be met, that's trying to be found. Because I think the bigger problem that's out there is that there are too many women, to me, that keep getting, they lose themselves. They fall into a pattern of just either negativity or depression or something happens. Where some women do what they do, the clout chasing, having to change who they are because of what's happened to them. And that maybe there are not enough women out there that really realize that. And for the guys out there that have had that nice guy thing because that's what they were trained and thought, and that's what they've been influenced to do. I was one. To realize that you can't just do that. And when you realize you're getting friend zoned, you realize that you've been spending money and you're not getting anything from it. Something's there. What is it about you can do to make yourself better? Okay. I'm not talking about anything about you. It's up to you what we want to change. It's the mindset that will make you do everything else. You want to go to the gym, you want to go to this and that. That's the mindset. Do you have to be the richest, most successful, be entrepreneur? You know, do you need all that? Do you need to drive a Bugatti? Do you have the hot tubs? No. People can try to go and chase that dream. Sure, if it makes things. Listen, I chase dreams, and hopefully I move myself forward and I make myself a better person. because I've always been, for many years, in self-improvement. But I'm not the role model. I've worked hard to try to continue to lose weight, continue to try to get myself in better shape, learn from what I've done in my past in terms of why things didn't work out with certain women. And part of the thing I've learned is going to go to my subject for today, attachment theory, because now that book that I've talked about a few weeks ago from Amir Levine has started to catch ground on TikTok. And I wanted to bring it up. I think I got one chapter left in the audiobook to listen to. And it's a Columbia professor, by the way, who wrote the book on it. And CNBC put a story out about it. I did bring it up briefly on a previous full-length episode. And so I want to just bring it back up here. Now, the book is Attached, the New Science of Adult Attachment and How It Can Help You Find and Keep Love. Currently right now on Amazon Social Science Books bestseller list, it's number 4. The hashtag attachment styles has 91.7 million views. Attachment theory has 142 million views. And in the book, author Dr. Amir Levine posts that children's attachment styles, first pioneered by John Bowlby in the 1950s, can be applied to romantic relationships between adults. The attachment theory styles are: number 1, secure people feel comfortable with intimacy and are usually warm and loving. Number 2, anxious people are often preoccupied with their relationships and tend to worry about their partner's ability to love them back. 3, avoidant people equate intimacy with a loss of independence and constantly try to minimize closeness. Book is 10 years old, but it caught my eye and I would listen to it, and they tell you a lot about what you do to deactivate a relationship when you feel your anxiety, feel the need to have your space, and how that affects trying to have a secure relationship, effective communication. And even when Dr. Levine, through the narrator, is trying to explain that in the book, effective communication, he's just talking about be basically blunt about what you want, but also be selfless at the same time. So, like, if you feel like you need time to yourself, you ask for it. If you feel like you need somebody that can constantly just feed you the attention and say, listen, I want to make sure that you're there and I'm there for you. And this is what I need from you. And not be afraid to say something because you're afraid of something's going to be said that you're not going to have. So Levine talked about there's a lot less you could tolerate when you're faced with imminent harm than when the world feels generally safe. Some close relationships, be it friendships or romantic ties, or at the workplace, dissolve the new close ones formed. And so there's a few things they talk about: applying lessons from attached to your life, assign an attachment lifestyle to yourself. If you are secure, anxious, or avoidant, and realize that there are things that you need to do to help bring you at ease, to bring you comfort when you're trying to get yourself in a relationship and not trying to self-destruct. Because I know being anxious and avoidant myself, anxious first, then becoming avoidant, that I need to find a way to figure that out. And so for myself, I'm thinking about the fact that they say here that you don't want to avoid people with certain attachment styles, but learn to communicate with them in a way that strengthens the relationship. And that your attachment style can change, just like any personality test. People feel like they stay stuck and rigid in their style, but you can oscillate between a couple different styles throughout your life as you collect new experiences. And it doesn't fully define who you are. Attachment theory. And that people, those with the anxious or avoidant attachment styles, don't have an illness and shouldn't be treated like they do. It's a physical trait. Just like some people have blue eyes and some brown, we're all different. But he wouldn't call someone with blue eyes sick because you have blue eyes. There are advantages to having insecure attachment styles in certain circumstances, but he doesn't think people with an insecure attachment style should get a bad rep. So I would definitely tell you to look at the book. Again, the book's name, Attached, the New Science of Adult Attachment and How It Can Help You Find and Keep Love. There's a lot of good things being said about it. It's a pretty healthy read, and I hope you guys take a look at it, because I think what he says a lot. If there's 2 books about relationships you really want to understand, guys, No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover and Attached. They're 2 very good books. And the other book I'd always recommend, put in your books, in your Audible library, The Psychology of Women. And just understand and learn. Because we don't realize the body language, and women are not going to give us all the cues to realize what's going on. We have to understand that for ourselves. All right, one other thing I want to bring up before we wrap things up. The friend zone. Story came up from Psychology Today about that. And guys, we want to be attached, but we also have to realize there are times where the friend zone hits us when we least expect it. And it happens to more people than you, though. And it's funny because, like I said, I do Uber deliveries and I do Uber rides. I'm doing it for 5 years now. And I remember one bartender trying to insist that something about when she's single, but she has friends, and then all these different guys, they're not interested in her. They're actually legitimate platonic friends. She wants to believe that. And sure, that's fine. You can't tell yourself that if you have 4 or 5 guys you hang out with on a regular basis and they're around you, they're not attracted to you. And if you gave them any idea or indication or inclination that you might be interested in them, that they wouldn't take the chance to go ahead and ask you out or want to get to know you better or take the risk. Because remember, guys, in a friend zone, the one thing you hate the most is when that friend zone's going on in the place and you are locked in there. She will find a boyfriend. She will find somebody she's with. And as soon as she gets that guy, the chances of you still staying friends diminishes greatly. I'd say 95%. Maybe 1 out of, 5 out of every 100 times are you going to still be friends with her. And that friendship might also be altered because of the fact that there's less time for both of you to spend time together. Maybe there's not so much that's going to be said. The conversations are going to be different because she's not going to worry about, oh, I'm still trying to find somebody and you're trying to be the supportive. Now she has somebody to support her. So your role diminishes greatly and they're just going to be shut out. Most likely, unless you're in there and you find a way. I don't think that it can't be that guys can't have girls as friends and the other way around. Girls will absolutely want to have guys as friends. I get that. But to me, it's like having pity on somebody. It's like, sorry, I'll put it like this. If there's a girl who's a friend, there's a difference when you have couples, right? You have your significant other and then they have theirs. And there's friends in that way. See, you can be friends with girls. I think it's just much easier if you are both in committed relationship. And even if you're not together, that you're just both in committed relationships and that's how it works. And in some cases, hey, swingers happen, right? Anyway, the story here, they talk about navigating relationships is more complicated nowadays than ever before. And they make the point that relationships became more strained after attempts to convert to romance. The friend zone is often a temporary, transitional, and unstable state as opposed to a stable friendship. And friend zoning is synonymous with rejection and leads away from enduring friendship. Right. There's a stigma to it. There's a fact that there's a bit of a negativity behind it, a bitterness when you have friend zoning. Because I remember when women try to do that to me, it just sucks. So there's a recent study that came out in the journal Imagination, Cognition, and Personality, Consciousness and Theory, Research and Clinical Practice. And one of the points they make here is people habitually, quote, do not process new information and use old stereotypes as relationship behavioral guides. As such, they are often mindless when it comes to thinking about the communication of the relationship. Relationships are key for mental health. It's good to get a handle on what's happening. And then we talked about attachment style. Well, we're going to continue it here. Are there new attachment styles developing? They talk about needing to update attachment theory, integrating secure and insecure attachment into a more cohesive, dynamic framework, embodying a metastable adaptive model with a responsive, secure, and insecure elements. So they did a study, 787 people ranging 18 to 32 years old, several key elements of the friend zone phenomenon. And they asked 4 exploratory questions. How do individuals who have experienced this conceptualize friend zoning? How do initiators communicate interest in changing the relationship? What are respondents' reactions to initiators' interest in changing their friendship? What change occurs to the friendships following the expression of romantic feeling? And 55% of the participants being initiators and respondents. So the ones that were kind of the chasers and the ones that are being chased, basically. 11.4% were initiators, 33% were respondents. And so the friend zoning, on how they came to be, they talk about how the initiators, the biggest thing that friend zoning was a symptom of, was a result of, was a failed transition. Where if you can't be lovers, then we could just be friends. Then there's your misunderstanding, romantic history, alternative partners, persistence, there's a chance, and compatible attraction. And so there's all these different areas that go along with it. But like I said, friend zoning, it's not healthy. It's very rarely healthy. Guys, girls, it goes to both. Guys, just realize that the time you have spending with a girl in the hopes that maybe things will turn around, it doesn't happen often. If you're not able to get that turned around, then it's not going to. And girls, if you feel like you need to hold on to a guy almost like it's an insurance policy or just that validation, that's not doing the guy any justice either. If you're friends hanging around with friends, or if you're couples hanging around with couples, I think the friendships between men and women can thrive. When you're not worried about the fact there's a romantic interest. If you have your own romantic interest, or you're just around friends and that's just the way it is, it's a different story. And these are the things I think about all the time, and I hope you understand. So it's a very enlightening episode tonight as I do this. Actually, not tonight. I'm doing this morning, Wednesday morning, because I didn't get to do it last night. But either which way, I hope that all makes sense to all of you. Thanks for listening to another Depraved and Debaucherous. Please subscribe. By the way, check out the new website for the show. You can now find all the past episodes, all the links at ddradio.live. Again, ddradio.live. That's how you find the show. So come back for another episode. Remember, we have many episodes coming out Mondays and Fridays on the audio side, wherever you find your podcasts. And you can also find all the content on YouTube, youtube.com/JBRASCO951. All my social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, at King of Podcasts. And remember that we're all allowed to be a little depraved and debaucherous.